Hello, everybody. Today, we want to talk a little bit about DEI and its impact on modern gaming. Now, I've heard that this video is a pretty good one by Pada, so let's see what he has to say, and let's talk about this. And then, before we start, of course, let me know what you think about DEI in the comments, and if you agree with what I say, let me know. If you don't agree, then leave a like, leave a dislike, and subscribe if you like the video, and let's get into this. Why is this how you start your video? Why is this how you started? That is terrifying!
What's wrong, little one?
My video. Watch my video.
What's your name?
Pada.
You're quite the fighter, Pada. Come, let me help you.
That is
Look,
so wholesome.
pretty, isn't it? Perfectly balanced. This whole thing should be too much to one side or the other. Here, you try. Concentrate. There. You've got it.
This is the perfect audience. You need a healthy number of incels to keep your audience stable, and you need a good number of chads to keep you stable. Because you need the incels, because they'll follow whatever you say, right? They'll do whatever you want. But if you have too many of the incels, you go crazy, right? You just start doing crazy shit and saying crazy shit and thinking crazy shit, right? But if you have a healthy number of chads to tell you you're acting like a dumbass, then you won't ever turn into that, idiot weirdo. Like you'll never become that guy who just goes completely off the reservation and says that a culture is inferior or some crazy stuff like that. Like,
You check your ass. I heard there's a lot of mail in there.
Thank you all so much for your incredible response to my last two videos. And also thank you so much, Asmongold, for the awesome encouragements.
I'm gonna be honest, if this guy had
the editing on these videos is really nice. This is really good editing.
100,000 subscribers, I'd say that he deserved more, and he has 232. I definitely feel like it was a good idea to watch it. It was a great video.
So he was at 200, and now he's at 20K. Props to you, my guy.
Really enjoyed the conversations I've been able to have with a lot of you, and the most important thing about this for me is the fact that I'm having so much fun making these videos.
Yeah, that's about right.
Today I want to dive
It's always the editing software. God damn, it's always the editing software.
into something I believe is very important, something that I didn't touch on in my previous videos. I've always believed in challenging my own views, playing devil's advocate against myself, and taking time to look at issues from multiple perspectives.
Yeah, because and this is extremely important. If you don't disagree with yourself sometimes, even if you're just playing devil's advocate, if you don't sometimes look at what you're saying and go, is this right? Is this right for every situation? When is this wrong? How could this be wrong? Why is it wrong? Why is it right? If you don't do this exercise on your own way of thinking, then very quickly you stop actually using logic to make your opinion and you start using emotion. Very quickly you stop going from I'm saying this because it's right, and it becomes this is right because I'm saying it. And it's very important to not let yourself become that way. Because the second that you become that way, you're completely deranged. No one can argue with you, no one can have a conversation with you, no one can even interact with you without you going off of a reservation the second that they disagree with you. It's the problem with a lot of the more political side of streaming and content creation, and then you just become this terrible fucking creature that, sure, you can draw in an audience because people are like, oh my god, what's the crazy thing he's going to say next, right? But nobody actually takes you seriously anymore. So while, yeah, there's a success to be had there, is it really the success that you want? I don't think so. I don't think it's a success.
That's why I held off on talking about this. I just really wanted to make sure I approach this topic carefully. I wanted to ensure that I have all the facts straight and that I represent the casual gaming community well. We're diving into a topic that's been stirring up quite a bit of controversy in the gaming world: DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. For some, DEI is viewed as a positive step towards inclusive environments. However, others argue that it can actually stifle creativity and innovation in the industry.
Because the problem with DEI is specifically the second word. And the main issue with equity versus equality, and why the word equity is such a toxic thing to try and follow. Equity is an equality of outcome, whereas equality is equality of beginning, equality of opportunity. And the problem with DEI is that throughout its modus operandi, and you'll see this if you've worked a corporate job, you'll see this if you listen to these people talking, you realize that what they want, they don't want to have the same opportunities as everybody else. No. What they want is to show up, and regardless of their skill, regardless of their ability, regardless of their personality, they want to be given success. And that's why you see these people go, you should buy these games, not because the game's good, but because the game pushes this message, but because the game has these, and these types of people working on it. That's equity. Equality would be, stop looking at who's making the game. Is the game good? If the game is good, play the game, buy the game. If the game is not good, we'll come back with a better game. That's equality. The problem with equity is that they never go through the process of trying to actually be as good as everybody else so that they can stand on the same ground. They just want to be given not the same starting position, they want to start at the finish line because they feel they've been wronged in the past, even though these people have never suffered the problems that they now use as justification for the need for DEI. They never suffered it. These guys are 20-year-olds, right? And at the same time, the people that they're accusing as the oppressors never committed any oppression, because again, they're 20-year-olds, right? This idea that all these straight white men went around oppressing everybody. No, they didn't. They're 20, 30-year-olds who have lived their entire 20 to 30-year-olds who have lived their entire lives trying to struggle against these systems that make it so if they are better than a woman who is applying to the same position, they will not get the position. If they are better than a minority who is applying to the same position, they're not going to get it. That's the problem with equity. That's why people dislike DEI, because DEI puts itself forward as a message of equality, but they don't want equality, they want equity. And at the end of the day, it just turns into wanting power. And they want power over things that they never really cared about because they were never part of the culture, because if they were, they would already be in the system, they would not need these initiatives. And so it just turns into them taking from you without giving anything back, and then demanding that not only do you accept that they have taken from you, but that you support them in taking more from you.
Today, I want to explore why DEI might pose to be dangerous for video games and the industry as a whole.
It's dangerous for everything. It's dangerous for everything. Every major corporation that signed away a lot of their skilled labor, a lot of their good employees just signed away, thrown out, and replaced with DEI, minorities, people that they needed to pad out their roster of like, hey, we need a woman who is of a different ethnicity, we need a person of a different sexuality, and so they use these people to pad out the roster, not really caring how good they are, they just need a person in that position. And because they threw out the actually good people, you immediately see the quality of their products go down, which is what you're seeing here on the screen with Concord.
This isn't just a surface level concern. It's a systemic issue that demands our attention and critical thinking. Before diving into its direct impact on games, we need to first understand how it's shaping the gaming industry itself. To start, it's essential to understand what DEI...
God, the first time I saw this smile here, I got jump scared so bad because like
how it's shaping the gaming industry itself.
Look at it from behind. Okay, yeah, a woman with a sword. She looks okay.
Start. It's essential to understand what DEI initiatives aim to achieve.
Put this stuff up to your high.
It's essential to understand what DEI initiatives
look at this face.
aim to achieve.
Tell me anyone wants to play as this character. Nobody wants to play as this character. Nobody, man. Look at what the previous characters from Fable look like, right? They look kind of normal. But at the same time, if you work on it, the character becomes very beautiful. If you work on strength and skill, the character becomes more muscular and more elegant, and they become more physically attractive. And you don't have this ugly ass, monstrous butterface staring at you every time you look in the mirror, right? You need maybe not like a model face, and you really shouldn't be getting models to do the faces for these, because then you're just gonna go, well, no, that's unrealistic, so let's actually tune it down a little bit and make it uglier. That's what I say to you. That's what I say to the devs who actually like think that you need an ugly character. And it's purely from a DEI perspective that they want this ugly ass face staring back at the player every time they look in the mirror. It's purely because of that. They don't actually care about the player's experience. They just care about the message. And to that I say, that's it.
Put this stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you...
Yeah. Blackmail them. Hey, if you don't work with us, we'll slander you, Mr. Black Myth Wukong dev. What do you mean? That's not happening. And then look at all of those articles that were written over a mistranslation, quoting each other, like articles quoting the mistranslation which was made by them. It's like, hey, see, somebody made this translation which shows that they are being sexist. And then that gets debunked, but they keep calling back to it like it didn't get debunked. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Yeah, we're gonna slander you. We're gonna make you look like absolute monsters in front of everybody.
At
That's
their
what they're
core,
talking about.
these
Evil.
initiatives seek to create inclusive environments by addressing historical injustices and ensuring diverse representation.
Yeah, in
While
theory.
I do believe that the intentions behind DEI are often noble, the
I don't believe even that.
implications can be quite serious.
And the reason I don't believe that is because of what happens when they don't succeed, right? If it was noble, if it was really noble, here's the thing. When you're doing something for a good cause, and you fail, you look inward. You failed. I didn't do enough. When these people fail, they get angry at you because you stop them from succeeding. And you stop them from succeeding not by taking an active role in attacking them, which is what they do to others. All you did was not buy their thing. All you did was not buy their shitty game. Look at Veilguard, right? Veilguard was one of the most... I'm not even going to say it was DEI, but it's a woke game, right? It has this messaging. The gameplay is amazing. Really, the gameplay of Veilguard is really, really fun. But when you actually start playing the game and you start trying to get out of Dragon Age Veilguard, what you would get out of Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Inquisition, which is, really good dialogue, really good characters. You can't get that. It's not there. The game is badly written. The characters are unlikable. They have Tash, the character that they pushed forward the most as like, look how cool she is, how strong she is, how girl bossy she is. And she's none of those things. She's a whiny 14-year-old and a hypocrite. She wants everybody to respect her idea of her identity while respecting no one else's. She talks to everybody else in stereotypes, but anytime somebody talks to her, the first thing out of her mouth is, I'm not a stereotype.
Yes. Many organizations, including game developers, have
Failed
implemented DEI programs or have outsourced DEI consultants hoping to create more equitable workplaces.
And now almost all of those games are saying, hey, take us out of your goddamn page. You're killing our business.
However, these efforts can inadvertently lead to divisive environments, where the focus on diversity usually overshadows other critical values.
It's racism. It becomes racism. Except instead of ignorance, it's hatred. Because the thing, I've talked about this before, there's two types of racists. There's the ignorant racist who doesn't know any better and just needs to be educated and exposed to these other things. And then there's the hateful racist who just hates you. They don't have a reason, but they hate you. And that's what these DEI people are. They are hate racists.
Like creativity and innovation. While it is important to acknowledge the values like creativity and innovation.
This looks like animation out of a... this looks comparable to... Actually, this is the exact same animation as Helldivers, which is from an indie studio. Except with Helldivers... Except Helldivers didn't put itself forward as this hyper-cinematic game, just as this game where you shoot bugs and fight mechs. And then the game by itself is super cinematic just because of how cool it is.
It is important to acknowledge the lasting impacts of discrimination. There are also many examples of individuals who've overcome these obstacles through hard work and resilience. Figures like Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King Jr. championed a vision where people are judged by their character, not their skin color, advocating for equality of opportunity, where success is based on merit.
Equality, not equity.
Not race, gender, or background. Equality of opportunity ensures that everyone has the same starting point and access to resources, allowing them to reach their full potential based on their own efforts. However, DEI often shifts the focus to equality of outcome, aiming to ensure similar results for everyone, regardless of individual effort. This shift can have significant implications for the gaming industry.
Oh my god, Dustborn. I'd be so... I'm Imagine being the government who collected taxes for this game. Yes, because this was a tax-funded game. Imagine being that. It's like, yes, this is an important game, so we're gonna actually, like, you know, do our part to make sure that this important game gets made and gets put in front of people. And then it just bombs. And it's like, it didn't even like bomb like $1 million game is supposed to bomb. It bombed like an indie game made by a kid in a basement bombs. It sold like, what, 80 copies worldwide? Maybe 200. I say maybe 200 because it had like a total of like 80 people playing it initially, and then it... Wait, was it 80 or was that Concord? No, that was... Concord was the one with 80 players. This one had like 12. So, if I was that government, I'd be fiending to put somebody in jail.
And beyond. For instance, if game development teams prioritize diversity quotas over skill and experience, they may inadvertently hire less qualified individuals simply to meet those quotas.
Not inadvertently. Like, they will hire the less... And this happens so much, and you can see it happen a lot. The person who is, and I've seen this happen in some of the places that I've worked at, where the person who is more DEI minded, who knows more about this stuff, who speaks more in these terms, gets the promotion over the person who is so much better than them at the job, it's not even funny. I've seen this happen. And then because the other person didn't get the promotion, now they get laid off because they're not as important to the company, even though they actually were way more important to the company, and then the company suffers.
This could compromise the...
It's why you see, like, for example, because we talked about Veilguard already, but like BioWare has mentioned that, oh yeah, we don't have any of the people who worked on, like, say, Dragon Age Origins anymore, or Dragon Age 2. We don't have those people anymore. So we cannot remake those games because we don't have those people anymore, so nobody knows how to work those engines. What do you mean you don't have those people anymore? They made you. They made the games that made you capable of investing $250 million into Veilguard. What do you mean you don't have those people anymore? It's ridiculous.
Quality of the games produced and frustrate both creators and consumers. When the focus shifts from talent to demographic representation, the risk of creating a mediocre, less innovative product increases, as new ideas and perspectives may be overlooked in favor of fulfilling diversity mandates. Historically,
because the only diversity they care about is diversity of skin color, not diversity of ideology.
movements toward greater equality have often focused on improving access and opportunity, rather than enforcing equal outcomes. Critics of the current DEI trend argue that by shifting to an outcome-based framework, organizations may lose sight of their original goal that so many incredible people have fought so hard to achieve: to provide a level playing field. Moreover, this emphasis on equality of outcome can create a backlash among those who feel that their own hard work and achievements are being diminished or disregarded. This tension can lead to division within teams and communities, as individuals begin to view one another through the lens of demographic categories rather than as unique contributors. In
Corporate enforced racism. That's what it's called.
summary, while I do believe DEI initiatives are often well-intentioned, the shift from equality of opportunity to equality of outcome can have significant and far-reaching consequences. In the gaming industry, this shift risks compromising the quality of creative output and can create division among
Fallout 2 is such a
developers
great
and
game.
players alike. I really believe that by focusing on merit and
Wait,
division among
what did you-
developers and players alike,
Bro's gonna blow him up for no reason.
I really believe
There's
that
no
by
reason to be doing
focusing
that.
on
What do you
merit and
mean?
individual potential, rather than simply achieving demographic targets, the industry can foster a culture of true inclusivity that celebrates the diverse contributions of all individuals. If you have a piece of glass lodged in your foot, it doesn't help for the doctor to just put a plaster on it and call you a bigot for not agreeing with him that this will fix the issue. The doctor needs to tackle the problem at its roots. And while I do understand and sympathize with the perspective of those pushing for DEI, the reality is that these initiatives can sometimes feel like that plaster, a temporary solution that doesn't address the deeper societal wounds.
No, not just that, it makes it worse.
I cannot deny that the push for DEI at its core is often a response to
Because it's not about, because like, his analogy, the glass in your foot, the doctor isn't just putting the plaster there. The doctor is putting the plaster there and then not letting you change the plaster or clean it or apply any other medicine to it, which just means that's going to get an infection, it's going to create all sorts of other problems. And that's what this is. They force you to put in these people, then they don't let you get rid of them when they're incompetent. And then if you try to get rid of them because they're incompetent, they'll come in and shove glass in your other foot, because they'll slander you. They'll do all sorts of things against you to try and tank your business.
historical
These
and
people are evil.
ongoing inequalities and the hurt that comes from real experiences of discrimination. However, we need to be careful that in our efforts to fix these problems, we're not just covering them up superficially. Real healing and real progress comes from addressing the systemic issues at their core. For me, I believe this means focusing on equality of opportunity, education, economic empowerment, and creating a society where people are judged based on their abilities.
Basically pass laws that make it so you can't fire somebody based on their identity, which right now exists. You cannot do that. You cannot deny somebody a job because they are the wrong skin color. You can't do that. That's already a thing. So the systemic issue is addressed, and now we have this group of cultists who are going around enforcing their own set of rules, which they claim everybody needs to follow, or the systemic issue was never fixed. Which just, like I said, corporate enforced racism.
And character. With that being
Just
said,
makes it worse.
I strongly believe that DEI is doing a major disservice to itself and everyone it affects. By focusing on metrics like representation quotas or attempting to guarantee equal outcomes, DEI often misses the real issues. It risks creating environments where individuals are seen first by their demographics rather than talents or achievements, which ironically reinforces the very divisions it seeks to eliminate. Rather than fostering genuine inclusion, these initiatives can lead to tokenism, resentment, and a sense of unfairness, where some feel overlooked because their merits are secondary to fulfilling diversity targets. Ultimately, we should be striving for a system where people, no matter their background, rise based on their effort, skill, and contributions.
When you make it about race, it becomes about race. If you make it so the only thing that matters to get somebody hired is their race or their gender, people are going to call you what you are, which is a diversity hire. Like, in the US, people were calling people racists and bigots for calling Kamala Harris a diversity hire. Are we all forgetting what the president referred to as the reason for choosing her as a vice president? He said she's a black woman. That's it. That's what he said about her. He didn't call back to her years in governance. He didn't call back to her, decades of experience, because she's a 60-year-old woman, right? She should have decades of experience. No, he didn't call back to any of that. He said black woman. Do you want to know why? Because she was wildly unpopular as a governor. She was terrible. She failed out of that job. And then suddenly she was in the running for president, failed out of that, and then she had to be shoehorned in as vice president. So yeah, people called her a diversity hire because it's kind of what she was. And in fact, the rumors about her, sleeping her way onto her governor position were not unfounded either. That's a problem. This is the problem with constantly making everything about race, constantly making everything about gender. You almost had a literal diversity hire as president. She wasn't skilled. She didn't have the experience or the talent to be in that position, and yet she was there. Why? Because she was a black woman. She was a diversity hire. That's a problem. That should never be the case. And I know this is a video about gaming, and I kind of brought up politics here, but this isn't. And I've been bringing up DEI in places outside of gaming this whole time because this isn't just a gaming thing. DEI is the scourge of competency. That's what it is. DEI is an ideology that will kill any and all talent that you have in your business, whether that be just an economics bit, like just a regular corporation where you're making a product, gaming where you're making a creative product, or governance where you're leading a country. It will destroy any and all talent, any and all skill that was there before.
Anything less undercuts the very ideals of fairness and equality that DEI claims to promote. Now, how is this directly affecting games? As we consider the implementation of DEI initiatives, we encounter significant risks within the gaming industry. One major concern is the creative limitations imposed on developers. When narratives prioritize political correctness over authentic story,
Black women fighting in World War I, in Battlefield 1. The woman front and center was a minority woman with a prosthetic arm in World War I. Yeah, go ahead. Try and convince me that that's not that wasn't shoehorned in for diversity.
storytelling, we risk alienating players who seek immersive experiences. A case in point is The Last of Us Part 2, which faced backlash for its heavy-handed approach to social issues, leaving some players feeling that the gameplay experience was detracted by the messaging.
Yes, incredibly so. And this isn't about like there wouldn't be gay people in the apocalypse. It's like, no. There wouldn't be homophobes in the apocalypse. You want to know why? People have better shit to worry about. It's like, oh my god, I found an LGBT flag. What? How do you even know what that is? Not only did The Last of Us 1 predate that, like the rise of that, like sure, rainbow flags existed, but these kids, these two kids here, both of them were born after the apocalypse, which means that flag means nothing to them. That flag should not be in the game. It just shouldn't. It's been, what, 30 years at this point? Since the start of it? I think it has been something like that. It's been like 30 years or something. It's completely ridiculous for you to try and tell me that this flag, which has clearly been just out there, somehow didn't discolor from the sun. Because it would have to predate the apocalypse. Nobody's going to be making that flag. People have bigger fish to fry. They have other issues to worry about. So pushing that forward in an apocalypse game, making your game about surviving a zombie infestation that is just wiping everything out, about diversity, is stupid. Pushing that idea, and I know that the game itself didn't push that idea, the devs did. The devs put that from the center. We have a lesbian relationship. Why does that matter? Their relationship starts with them making out in a shed. How romantic. And then it turns out that Ellie's girlfriend is pregnant from her boyfriend. You wanted so badly to have that extra stress added, you didn't even think about the idea of just not doing that. And then, worse yet, they did it twice! They had this 9-month pregnant woman running around, climbing stuff. Do you know how hard it is to just walk? Have you seen a pregnant woman? They can barely jump, let alone fight. Completely ridiculous.
And as I mentioned in a previous video, Battlefield 5 was criticized for its focus on diversity in a historical World War II setting, leading to mixed receptions from its focus on diversity in a historical World War.
Look at that! Look at that! World War I, fighting in the trenches with a scoped gun and a prosthetic, which uses materials that they didn't even use back then. They didn't use that way. What the fuck do you mean, bitch? No! Oh, you're missing an arm and you're a soldier. Okay, you're not going in the front lines. I don't care. You're missing an arm, bitch. Sign the paperwork.
War II setting, leading to mixed receptions from fans. Again, the way this was done was quite heavy-handed. Instead of celebrating the incredible real contributions that women actually made in World War II, the focus shifted to portraying them in traditionally male roles, as if it was
completely... It was done with the purpose not of putting women forward, because women had important positions. They did amazing things in World War I. It just wasn't battlefield roles. But it's like, you can't have a battlefield position because you can't have somebody dedicated to being on the battlefield fighting and dying if you don't have support in the back. And that's what the women did in World War I. They didn't fight in the front line. Some did, but it was an infinitesimal number. Putting forward a woman, a handicapped minority woman, in the front and center of a game like that does one thing and one thing only. It erases the people who were actually there.
was a more valuable way to recognize their efforts. Games that prioritize social agendas over storytelling can fail to resonate with audiences,
Always fail
hurting
to
both
resonate.
sales and overall engagement.
If your only focus is DEI, if your only focus is diversity and equity and inclusion, your story is going to suck. Because it's going to always be written from the perspective of this person who is a minority is not just as good as everybody else, they are better. And so we need to push that idea. We need to push that in everything. And so your story is going to suck.
It's crucial that we focus on merit and individual talent rather than identity. Promoting environments where everyone can rise based on their skill and hard work is essential for a thriving
Black and white. Oh my god. I love this game. This game was so good.
gaming industry. This approach honors the principle of equality of opportunity, allowing
Beating the
diversity
shit out of the monster, because like if you had different types of monsters, and some were carnivorous and some weren't, and so like if you had a non-carnivorous monster, it would be really good for like helping your village, right? And you'd have a lot of like spells that you could cast because you're a god, right? And that's your avatar, and so you could cast miracles really easily because your pet would constantly keep your people alive and make it so they would survive. But if you had a carnivorous pet, you actually had to like constantly keep your pet away from your people because he was really strong and really capable of fighting on his own, but he was a carnivore. If he gets hungry, he's going to eat people. And because people were more valuable for him to eat than like regular animals, he's always going to prioritize people. So basically, if you have him eating people, you lose out on people and people get sad, but you need to balance that to both empower him, but also you need to keep him away so he can actually, you know, go fight the other monsters that are on the map. It was really good. It was a really good game.
voices to contribute without being constrained by demographic targets. When we celebrate achievements based on merit, we foster a culture that values innovation, creativity, and excellence over
and actual diversity, because you actually will get diversity if you do that.
identity politics. An example would be the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows. Set in a rich historical context, the game promises an immersive experience. However, some fans worry that DEI-driven pressures could push the developers to emphasize diversities in ways that feel inauthentic to the setting.
They already have, because it's the first Assassin's Creed game where you play in Japan with a Japanese lead, except you get to play as an African man with a hip-hop soundtrack in feudal Japan. An African man, not African American, not African American. So there should be no hip-hop. Get the hip-hop out of here. If you wanna give him a soundtrack specifically because he's black, it should be tribal African. But realistically, Yasuke should not have been the lead, because while yes, I know, Mr. Commenter, that other Assassin's Creed games also had historical characters in it, but they were never the protagonist. And they shouldn't be the protagonist, because the protagonist should not be somebody who existed. The protagonist should be a fictional character so that you can actually incarnate that role and explore the world from that perspective. You wanted to include Yasuke? Absolutely, do it, sure, but like, we know a grand total of 4 lines of text about this man. Why would you make him the main character? For the first time that people are excited about, oh my god, we're gonna get to play as the Japanese lead, and sure, you have the Japanese character as well, she's the ninja, but like, what if I want to play as the guy? I can't play as the Japanese guy in the Japanese game? Why? Right? Like, they are so focused on making everything about diversity that they will wipe out the people that they should be trying to represent.
Instead of naturally weaving diversity into the narrative, there's a concern that these efforts might compromise the historical accuracy and storytelling depth that longtime players expect from the franchise. This tension highlights the broader risk that DEI initiatives can.
He's not gonna play the music, but this is where the music was started playing, and this is where everybody started roasting the hell out of them. It was beautiful.
Create, producing games that feel more like checkbox exercises than creative, engaging works. If DEI is to truly benefit the gaming world, it needs to respect both the diverse talent involved in game development and the authenticity that
DEI can never benefit anyone other than the people pushing for DEI. Because the idea of DEI is that we ignore talent and we push for an equality of outcome for the minority present. Which means that as soon as you create a space, that space needs to be torn down, which prevents the actual nurturing of ideas and of talent and of skills. That's the problem with DEI. The problem with DEI isn't that it's being misused. The problem with DEI is that it's a cancer on the industry, whatever industry it is, whether it be just a regular corporation, an artistic endeavor, or governance. It's a cancer. It needs to be wiped out. Just stop worrying about everybody's race, stop worrying about where they're coming from, stop worrying about their religion, worry about their ideals, worry about their skills, their talents, worry about how good they are in the team. Because here's the thing, DEI, you want to know something DEI has done? Whenever in a corporation, HR gets a resume that has pronouns in it, as in like, hey, I'm, auntie, he, her, whatever, or he, him, whatever, they take that resume and they throw it out. Because they already know that person is not going to be a good team player. They're not going to be working well with others. Anything that they could take offense to, they will take offense to it. That's the problem with DEI. It creates people like that and it puts them in power. And those people are extremely petty and vindictive because they see everything from the lens of oppressor and oppressed. And because they consider themselves oppressed, everybody else is an oppressor. And anybody who disagrees with them is an oppressor. And oppressors should be punished. And because they're oppressors, they're evil. And so anything bad they do to them is justified. And now, I know if you know any amount of history, you know what these people are. Because they have been all over the place throughout history. These people are tyrants. These people are dictators. These people are authoritarians. But the correct word here, these people are fascists. They are fascists because, specifically the term, this person is bad, so anything we do to them is justified. And they use the term racist or Nazi or, homophobe, or whatever it is they want to call you. They use that as the justification for everything bad that they want to do to you. They wish death upon you because, well, you're a Nazi. Nazis need to die. And that's the thing with fascism. Fascism dictates. In an emergency, we can do whatever we need to end that emergency. That's the thing that they do. In a state of emergency, this is the law. We can do whatever we want in a state of emergency. And then they just declare a state of emergency. Whoop! State of emergency, I can do whatever I want. Whoop! That person's a Nazi. Do whatever you want to them. Kill them. Hurt them. Torture them. Take away everything that they have. They're fascists, guys. People who push and truly believe... Well, nobody truly believes in DEI. But people who push DEI are fascists.
Players' value. Kotaku, which is a major player in gaming journalism, has been criticized for its overemphasis on identity politics and DEI-driven content. In recent years, their coverage has increasingly focused on social issues rather than games themselves. While we all know
which is why Kotaku is dying.
Raising awareness about
Actually, no,
diversity
Kotaku
is
has
important,
died,
it is
hasn't it?
obvious that Kotaku has
not
annoyed
yet.
a lot of gamers who feel that the platform is prioritizing political agendas over authentic gaming journalism. This has led to the loss of credibility among gamers, developers,
it's him
and
again.
content creators who are looking for insightful reviews and industry news, not lectures on social justice. Another prime example of this is Sweet Baby Inc., a consulting firm hired by Ubisoft to handle narrative development for their games. Sweet Baby Inc. is a DEI-focused company that promises to bring underrepresented voices to the forefront of gaming narratives. While this sounds like it could be a positive step, the result has been that some of Ubisoft's recent games and upcoming games have faced criticism for feeling disjointed or overly politically correct, prioritizing diversity checkboxes over coherent, engaging storytelling.
It's the sort of thing, like, I know this is like a joke people make, but it's like, when you've got this genocidal villain who has, like, murdered thousands, but he draws the line on being racist. He draws the line on being mean to women. And it's always about politically correct things. It's like, he's a murderer, he's murdered thousands, but he's politically correct. So he has standards. It's like,
Gamers have voiced concerns that Ubisoft's partnership with DEI-focused consultants like Sweet Baby Inc. has led to games that feel like they've lost their soul, catering to an agenda rather than their core audience. In both these cases, between Kotaku and Sweet Baby Inc., we see the direct consequences of DEI initiatives. When diversity is prioritized over narrative depth or gameplay quality, the end product will always suffer, and ultimately so does the gaming experience.
I am the crazed CEO of Sweet Baby Inc., the DEI-obsessed censorship mafia who is currently ruining and wokeifying all of the video games that you've ever played.
and she's proud of it. And so are all the morons in the crowd, because, and here's the thing, not a single one of them is a gamer. Not a single one of these people, and I'm actually going to go to the big camera here. Not a single one of these people plays video games. Not one of them. They don't like video games. They hate video games. Not a single one of them grew up playing video games. They don't care. They don't like video games. They never did like video games. Never, ever, 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 ever. They don't like them. It's not their thing. They made fun of you for liking video games when they were kids. And now they're trying to be in charge of them.
Frustrations with how DEI is often implemented in gaming is that it can feel condescending, as if the people pushing these mandates assume that gamers like me lack the intelligence or critical thinking to engage with complex social themes on our own.
Not only do they think that you're an idiot, they think you're evil and deserve to be punished. And so they will punish you. They will punish you however they can. And they will always do this because they think you're evil, and therefore that justifies anything they do to you. It justifies them erasing you from the culture. It justifies them insulting you and wanting you to lose your job and wanting you to lose everything that you have because you don't agree with them.
It sometimes comes across as though we're being spoon-fed ideas in the simplest, most heavy-handed ways. It's almost like they're treating us like toddlers in a preschool rather than being a community filled with diverse, thoughtful players.
Gaming is one of the most diverse cultures out there, because you go in and you play Call of Duty, you know this. You know this for a fact if you play Call of Duty. You know this for a fact if you play any multiplayer game, really. But if you play Call of Duty, you log in, you get 12 people in party, whatever. 2 of them are from a different country than you. 4 of them are from a different religion. 3 of them have a different accent than anybody else. Everybody's different there. And you're all playing the game together, you're all having a good time, you're all having a wonderful time together, being properly diverse. DEI is the cancer. It's a scourge.
For example,
and thankfully DEI is losing more and more of its power. And I, for one, think it's about fucking time.
The Apex Legends Season 12 trailer which showcased non-binary and LGBTQ+ characters. While I can understand you're trying to create representation, many players felt that these additions were more about marketing tactics than natural character.
This trailer was not made for people who want to play a first-person shooter. This trailer was made for the Twitter people who are like, oh my god, oh, yes, diversity, oh. That's it, that's them.
Development. This tick-the-box approach not only feels disingenuous, but can detract from the immersive experiences that games are supposed to offer.
Transitioning. That was sort of hard.
In conclusion, while DEI may...
It's a shooter. You want to talk about what's hard? You want to talk about what's hard? Shooting people in the face. That's hard. Talk about that. What? It's a shooter. You're out here shooting people in the face. You're out here getting shot at. Transitioning was hard. No, bitch. Getting shot at is hard.
May have well-meaning intentions, its execution almost always misses the mark. As casual gamers,
They don't have well-meaning intentions. I talked about this already in the video. I'm not going to go over it again. They want power. They want to own your culture. They are actually appropriating culture. They don't care about the game. They don't care about making it inclusive. They want it to be theirs. Because if they wanted it to be inclusive, they would want a space that is shared. They would want to participate in our culture. Because it is our culture. Because we were there first. We were here the whole time. You just showed up and now you're demanding it be changed for you. You're demanding it be made in your image. That's not... That's like I could look up the definition, but that's not inclusiveness. That's a hostile takeover. The only reason you would want a hostile takeover is if you want to own it. And if you just want to own it, you just want power. That's not a good intention. That's evil.
And content creators, we must critically assess these initiatives and recognize their potential harm to the industry we love. The shift from equality of opportunity...
It's not even potential. It's active harm. It is realized harm.
...to equality of outcome risks stifling creativity, alienating players, and ultimately harming the quality of games. Let's foster a culture that values individual talent and creativity over identity politics. By doing so, we can ensure that the gaming industry continues to innovate and thrive without being hindered by divisive narratives. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening to me meander about DEI and my perspective of it. I really appreciate it. If you found this discussion valuable and would like to see more or hear more from me, please do subscribe. Also, do let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. How do you feel about DEI in gaming?
It was a really good video. Really well edited. I disagree with some of his opinions on some things, but it's mostly because he's very positive about a lot of this stuff. He's very hopeful. He sees the He's seeing the good in it, right? I've been inside of it, though. There's no good there. There's no good. It's just a poison that needs to be taken out. The ideology, not the people, obviously. And I think that it's like I said, it's a cancer and a scourge, and it needs to be healed. And thankfully, more and more these corporations and these gaming corporations are realizing that people don't like this shit. People don't want it. People want it gone. And so, thankfully, we are winning. And we won by being right. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? So, I hope you guys had a good time. Follow if you enjoy. I'll see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, have a good one, and cheers.